From our studios in New York, here again is Ann Curry.
Are you one of those men who starts each day anxiously counting the hairs left behind on your brush? Maybe you find yourself liking hats a lot more than you used to. Well, you're not alone. Hair loss affects 80 million Americans who together spend billions of dollars every year looking for a cure. Well, a year ago, we asked 5 balding men to try out a series of products and procedures that promise to restore hair. We first checked back with them 6 months ago, and now it's time for the moment of truth. Did any of them actually grow any hair? Here's Rob Stafford.
Meet Dateline's Follicle 5. There are proud volunteers who've tried almost everything to try to stop one thing. They're thinning and ever-lessening heads of hair. For 12 months, our 5 men tried pills, surgery, a fish product, and even a laser to grow hair. Now that a year's passed, it's time to see who has sprouted new growth and who is not.
I can feel some of my hair standing up.
Baseline to now, my gosh, what a difference.
Paul Silva works for a title insurance company. At 41, he felt people would stare at his bald spots, so he almost always covers his head with one of the dozens of caps he owns. His wife, Linda, wishes he wasn't so obsessed with his thinning hair.
He doesn't believe when I say I think he's attractive and he's my Bruce Willis.
Paul was hoping new hair could help him relive his teenage years, when he had hair almost as long as the singers in his then-favorite rock group, Quiet Riot.
I'm looking forward to that headbanger's ball so I can swing my hair around. Bang your head. It's been a while since I've been able to flip my hair one way or the other, so.
Paul was about to undergo the most intrusive and dangerous treatment, a hair transplant. Yet he was thrilled.
I actually kind of feel like I've won the lotto. I mean, you think of all the people who want to have this done. and I got picked.
And Dateline paid for the procedure, as we did for all of the treatments. Still, many people might have second thoughts about a transplant because of images like these. But Dr. Alan Bauman, a hair transplant surgeon from Boca Raton, says medical advances have eliminated that plug look of years ago.
Today's hair transplants are 100% undetectable. There may be people that you know who have had hair transplantation and you were unable to tell.
Good morning, Paul. Welcome.
But to get that look takes a lot of money and man hours. Plus, there are risks.
Infection, blood loss.
As Paul quickly realizes when he arrives at Dr. Bauman's office for his operation.
Transient swelling, bruising.
The car's right outside if you want to turn around.
Tell him to go ahead and go home. I'm going through it.
Okay, Christy.
As Paul enters the operating room, he'll need to get comfortable because he won't leave for hours.
Put your hair up.
The donor hair comes from the back of his head.
We're going to start the anesthesia, okay?
After numbing his head, the doctor removes a small section of scalp. Technicians then cut out individual hairs from that donor's scalp.
What I'm doing right now is I'm making the tiny incisions, the sites where the hair is going to be implanted into the skin.
The doctor and his team replant about 1,900 individual hair follicles. 7 hours later, the process is complete. And then a first look.
That's a lot of grafts. Wow. If that fills in, you weren't kidding, Doc. One looked like you.
Dr. Bauman instructed Paul to also start using Propecia and minoxidil to help keep his old hair from falling out. But what will Paul's transplants look like in 1 year's time? Will he fulfill his dream of getting back the rock and roll hair he wants? Will any of our men see the results they were hoping for? And is it worth the cost? When we return, we'll see what happened to each of our Follicle 5.
From our studios in New York, here again is Ann Curry.
Back to our story now. More than 2/3 of American men will lose some or all of their hair over their lifetimes. So a year ago, we issued a hair-raising challenge to 5 balding men, asking them to test a variety of different techniques for growing hair. Now we're about to find out what worked and what didn't. Here again, Rob Stafford.
The results are in. Our fearless and formidable Follicle 5 volunteers spent 12 months trying different, even unusual treatments to try to grow hair.
Morning, I'm Dr. Romanelli.
Now, to judge whether or not our volunteers actually grew any hair, we had Dr. Paulo Romanelli examine each of our men at the start of this project.
Smile. Some substantial results.
6 months later.
Welcome back.
And then after 1 year. A professor with the University of Miami's dermatology department, Dr. Romanelli will later give his opinion on how well these purported hair-growing treatments actually worked. Meanwhile, our volunteers told us they use their products religiously. And now, 12 months later, it's time to see how everyone did.
By the way,
Joe is our teacher in his mid-50s who sometimes gets teased by his students over his thinning hair. He used 2 drugs at the same time, Propecia pills and minoxidil lotion. Occasionally, he found the lotion to be messy.
At times you don't want to have that greasy look, and at times I don't want to have it spill onto my pillow.
So there's quite a bit of rigmarole around all the applications.
Right.
And with Propecia, a small percentage of users have sexual side effects.
6 months ago, you didn't have any of those side effects, any problems?
No side effects at all. My friends tease me all the time because I use the word virile. Okay,
Here's how Joe looked at the beginning of our project. Here he is at 6 months and at 1 year. The cost of both drugs is about $900 a year. And Dr. Romanelli was surprised by Joe's results.
Joe did quite well in the first 6 months, and I like to say remarkably well in a year time. What I saw on Joe was the hair much fuller, thicker. Propecia usually doesn't work that well on people that are over 50.
Hector is our computer technician. He'd often sit in the back of training classes so people wouldn't see his bald spot. He used the fish extract product from Finland called Viviscal. Here is Hector at the beginning of our project, at 6 months, and 1 year later. The cost for Viviscal is about $660 a year.
What kind of progress do you think you've made?
I don't think I've gained any hair, but I don't think I've lost any hair. I think I've just maintained what I had to begin with.
Dr. Romanelli agrees.
Hector, I didn't see any major growth this time. At the same time, I didn't see any major hair loss. I think he's quite stable.
George, our twin who is married, used the laser comb. It's a device that emits a low-level laser that's supposed to stimulate new hair growth. This is George at the start of our project, at 6 months, and after 12 months of using the $700 comb.
I've noticed no hair loss in the sink anymore since I've been using it.
Do you think you've grown any new hair?
I think I have, but then again, I want to wait till the results tell me for sure.
Welcome back.
So you're gonna let me know what's going on, huh?
George, I definitely saw some new hair on the top of his head, right here, but not much on the 2 temporal areas.
George is thrilled to hear the doctor's opinion.
I was cautiously optimistic, but really now I can say that that cautiousness can go away.
As for his single brother, Richard, he tried Propecia, which costs about $600 a year. This is Richard when we first met him. Here he is at 6 months, and after 12 months of using this FDA-approved drug.
Richard, you've been taking Propecia for a year. How do you think you've done?
Actually, I felt very confident at the beginning. The first 2 to 3 months, I saw like some little birth growth there, little spuds coming out, like a little cactus. And then suddenly, then I didn't see it anymore.
But Dr. Romanelli feels Richard actually grew more hair over the last 6 months than he did in the first 6 months of using Propecia.
Richard did quite well. Richard, same as his brother, grew hair mainly on the top of his head.
As for Paul, who wanted to have hair as long as a rock star, this is how he looked before he had his hair transplant surgery. This is him after 6 months, and here he is after 1 year. Paul also used minoxidil and Propecia. Dr. Romanelli thinks overall he had the best results.
Paul had incredible results, definitely the best of the 5. He had a lot of hair growth and very good success.
But hair transplant surgery comes at a steep price. The cost for Paul's operation, $10,000.
$10,000 for the hair transplant. Is that worth it?
In my case, I would say yes. I mean, in self-esteem and the way that I feel, I actually feel like, you know, hey, I am younger, I am retaining it, I am still an active, vibrant person. Now that I have hair, I can honestly tell you, I go out a lot now without my hats. I don't have one in arm's reach all the time anymore.
You might be surprised, but Dr. Romanelli says that in our unscientific project, all 5 of our volunteers had positive results. Either they stopped losing hair or grew more hair.
$700 a year to continue the Viviscal, you going to do it?
Probably, without having expectations of growing hair, yeah.
Richard, are you going to keep going with the Propecia?
No, I'm going to save my lucky pennies. When it gets to that point, I'm going to look at Paul and I'm going to say, you know, I'm going to get it to transplants.
You want more?
I want more.
Paul, are you going to do another transplant?
Yes.
You're hooked.
Got to fill in the stadium. Doors are closed. Need to get everybody seated now.
The headbanger?
Yeah. Does it move yet? I'll be very happy going to the headbangers ball and not swinging my hair around.
No matter. After 12 months, our follicle 5 have either all gained new hair or maybe gained some new wisdom.
Earlier this month, our volunteer, Paul Silva, went ahead and had another hair transplant. He's thrilled with gaining more hair, but this time he had to pay the tab.